an opportunity to sell at least 100,000 belt buckles, or 2,000 ping pong paddles, or any numbers of things we can create from our other waste streams. And so we're hoping what we could do is engage Sauder Africa initiative and the students involved in that program, both to find some programs, sources of sales, to teach the students involved in the Sauder Africa a bit about entrepreneurship and some manufacturing before they go to Africa, and of course to provide funding for the project so that they, for their efforts, instead of doing wine and cheese fundraisers or whatever sort of fundraising they're doing, it's a little bit more applied, and hopefully it can provide a long-term funding initiative for Sauder so that they don't have to seek out new opportunities every year. Oh my, what happened? Okay, great. So we're looking for 2 students to develop a brand, because in our eyes it's a separate business, a separate brand. We definitely have a lot of distribution channels, packaging. We can do a lot within Rayne, but it is a separate brand in our eyes. We need a market development plan and some next steps to take so that we can have someone working on the project full time. And the second student would be to provide this funding model and activities plan for Sauder Africa. So I hope we can get some good resumes in the door. And if you guys have any questions, do not.
All right, thanks, Brett.
And if anyone needs a belt buckle,
No, right now, so we'll open up for 5 minutes of questions for Graham.
Sure.
I'm still not very clear about the Sauder Africa initiative involvement.
Okay, that's a little bit blurry for us as well, and that's why we're here. We would like to see how we can work collaboratively with the Sauder Africa initiative to provide funding for them, whether it's through the students, selling belt buckles, or this is a question mark that we don't quite know how to solve.
I might just raise that a little bit. So my name is Katrina McDonald. I'm at the Dean's office, and just to answer in part your question, I know a little bit about this. Every year the Sauder Africa team of students at the undergraduate and MBA level will go to Africa to work with underprivileged and individuals there to help them with their entrepreneurial business ideas. But they need to fundraise to get there. And in the past, each student had a fundraising goal of about $2,000 or $3,000. And that's a lot of money for students to try and raise when they're going to school. And so they used to do things like hold wine and cheese parties. They used to do all kinds of different things that brought in a little bit of money and were a lot of work to organize. So Frances Chandler, who is director of research for Sauder, she actually went and visited you folks, looked at the belt buckles, and together, I guess you guys came with the idea, well, these could actually be something that we could sell, working with you to make them into a product that could be used, such as these.
Well, and the belt buckles is really just sort of the lowest hanging fruit that we could come up with.
I think she's mentioned that you could sell them for like $16, people would be willing to buy.
That's, yeah, I mean, when I say lowest hanging fruit, we copied other people that are making belt buckles out of skateboards.
So it seemed a natural fit that they've got some product that could potentially be used to sell, and you had a group of students trying to find a way to raise some money. And is there an opportunity to bring them together to do something that would help support the Sauder Africa program? So
exactly.
Just a little bit of background on that.
Did you still have a question?
Yeah, sure. I just had a question about how open you are to other kind of product ideas, and then especially ones that kind of fit better with your existing distribution, right? Like belt buckle seems like a good natural fit.
Yeah.
Ping pong paddles maybe not quite so much.
So 600 million people play ping pong.
But do they also skateboard, I guess? Is the question, right? So I was just wondering how open you are to kind of other ideas that would fit closer to your kind of the skateboarding business model.
We
and
just
things like that.
want to stop throwing things out, so just about anything would be great.
Sorry, have you explored, or would you consider exploring producing for another company rather than launching your own brand or your own products?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the thing with belt buckles is we've even started redesigning the off-cut pieces of our graphics. So these ones, so that we could put other branding on it or other graphics. So like these pieces of the skateboard get cut off, and we just started putting logos, and as we develop new graphics, we're always trying to decorate the offset pieces, and it'd be great to work with other people. I think the biggest thing is that we've got just such a large volume that we're throwing out, and it'd be worthwhile to do something with this.
The store, Umbro or that type of store that have so many little gadgets and things that are likely could be made out of something like that.
Great. Well, thanks for your attention.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Rayne. So next, I'm going to ask Bill from Mar Pharmaceuticals to speak. And for the speakers, when you're down to 1 minute, I'll raise my hand just so you guys know to wrap it up.
Not doing a very good job. Okay, so I'm Bill Garner, and this is a story of a pharmaceutical company, a very small pharmaceutical company. Some people might call a small pharmaceutical company a biotech, but we prefer to call it a pharmaceutical company. I think you'll see why. So we're located in both Vancouver and Menlo Park. So Del Mar is a company that's developing cancer drugs. In particular, you hear about orphan diseases, orphan cancer drugs, and actually big market cancer drugs too. So we're clinical stage in the US, but actually commercial stage because the product's approved in China. So that's pretty interesting. I have a number of slides here. I'm not going to read all of them. I just kind of want you to see it because we have the 5 minutes. And things are happening so quickly, by the way, that my co-founders are actually in the States because we just listed the company on the bulletin board on Friday. So it's this is really sort of an accelerated story. So this product actually was synthesized in Europe many years ago. And then in the US, the National Cancer Institute spent maybe $50, maybe $100 million on it. And it was never commercialized. But some smart people in China actually figured out, well, there's enough data for us. And they started using it in one province and another province. But it was never used throughout China. And it's actually used for lung and CML, chronic myelogenous leukemia in China. But we're actually developing it in primary brain tumors in the US. But Ted Kennedy had it, glioblastoma is the disease, the most aggressive form of brain cancer. So we've done a deal with the manufacturer. If you can imagine, there's a large manufacturing group in China, publicly traded in Shanghai, and they've never done a deal with a Western company. So here we are, we have 20 consultants, we have 1 full-time employee in Vancouver, and we've done a deal with them. And I forget what their market cap did when they announced this in Shanghai, but it was material. It was certainly more than the value of our company by a multiple. So this product hasn't been maximized in China, and that's one reason that we're here, looking for some input, some help. So I could talk about this afterwards with people, but there's actually a rationale for actually treating Asians in particular with cancers based on their genetic profile in lung and CML. So even though this is an old drug, it's sort of got a modern opportunity in 2013 and can essentially be relaunched. And this is just to show you what we've done quick and dirty. Just relaunching this drug in some of the big cities in China could give you a multi-$100 million drug in China without going into the second, third tier, fourth tier cities. It's pretty interesting. So Del Mar, we're in Vancouver, Menlo Park. As I mentioned, a small company. We're developing it in the US. Guangxi Wuzhou manufactures injectable pharmaceuticals. They don't do marketing. We have an arrangement with them. We actually have the global rights. So we're looking for a partner in China to market it in 2013. So this project actually is to understand how we could best do that. And we'd like students to look at something that Bayer has done in the Chinese market where they've been very successful, like this. I mean, we know about it, but we don't know it in depth. We're so busy doing other things. So we'd like people to help us understand that better, number one, and then help us design a strategy in China. So if you get involved with us, and it can be 1, 2, or 3 of you, you don't have to speak Mandarin, it'd be helpful, be nice. But the results could be something that you see in 2013 and revenues to us and a project. So this is not just an academic exercise. So my co-founder, so I've lived in Vancouver and I knew Jeff Bacha, who'd worked with UBC Technologies before, and Dennis Brown, a chemist in the Bay Area. We founded this company several years ago. We've done a lot with it. Basically, we're in development in North America, and as I mentioned, looking to relaunch this drug in China. We have some initial data showing that the drug is working like it did decades before as we're modernizing it. And we have orphan protection in the US, actually in Europe a few weeks ago. So this is something we're trying to do on a global basis. Thank you very much. And just one aside is I brought enough, I think, books. I did a self-published book because I'm a doctor. I'm not a business person. I had to learn business without, I guess I did business without a license. But I wrote a book a few months ago that I've worked on for many years about some of the stories in these startup companies. And they're not all life science, but a lot of them are. But I brought enough for, I think, the students here. If you'd like one, just ask me. So any questions, would be